Hi and welcome back to my garden. Across this series, I've been sharing my progress as I've swapped city life for a new gardening adventure here in Hampshire. It's a pretty big project and it's definitely been keeping me busy, but I've been loving the opportunity to get to know the bones of this old garden and to create the garden of my dreams, both for my family and for all the plants that I love best. For example, in this area here, a few months ago, this whole area was just lawn, and since then, a lot of work has gone into creating these 4 big, slightly raised beds, and all the turf and the topsoil from the paths has been scooped up and then mounded here to slightly raise the beds themselves. And they've been raised for a really good reason, which is that I have always loved the sort of silver-leaved Mediterranean shrubs like phlomis and lavenders and cistus, and they should love my sandy soil here in this really sunny spot. But if there's one thing they all hate, it's soggy feet. It feels like recently the weather has been increasingly unpredictable, and we've had baking dry springs one year and then flooded paths and beds the next. And I wanted to give these plants the best possible chance to thrive here by lifting them up out of the winter wet. All of these plants are adapted to cope with really dry conditions. And one of the first things you'll notice is that a lot of them have wonderful silvery leaves. And that's because it helps to reflect light off the leaf surface to keep them nice and cool. This beautiful phlomis and this stachys both have wonderful felty, velvety leaves. This is Stachys byzantina big ears. And that's because they're covered with a thick down of tiny, fine hairs, which helps to trap moisture close to the leaf surface to prevent it from drying out. This is another fantastic euphorbia, and I know I've talked a lot about all sorts of different euphorbias because I am completely obsessed with them. I think they add so much to the garden, and that there's really a euphorbia for every garden. This is Euphorbia mercenites with these wonderful snaking heads, and the leaves are covered with a waxy coating or cuticle which prevents the leaves from losing water. Now, eventually, this bed is going to be drought tolerant and hopefully pretty low maintenance. But just because these plants can cope with really tough conditions doesn't mean they don't need a bit of care at the start. So the first thing I do before I plant anything is to give them a really good soak in a bucket of water. And I'm just going to hold it under the surface of the water until I stop seeing bubbles coming up. And that way, I know that it's fully saturated. There we go. I think that's done, so I'm just going to let it drain for a second. There we go. So having got that in, I'm going to give it a really good drink just to settle the soil around it. And when I'm planting slightly larger shrubs, I plant them into this kind of shallow saucer shape, which helps to funnel all the rainwater or, say, water from a watering can down straight to the roots to give them a really thorough drink and make the most of what rain falls. Many of these plants will send out deep roots so that they can access moisture in the soil even when the surface has dried out. And you can encourage that process by watering thoroughly but rarely, only when the plants show signs of stress and wilting. Whether our springs are completely sodden or baked dry as a bone, if we can understand the conditions our plants need and give them the conditions that they love, then hopefully we can build resilient gardens which can withstand whatever the weather has to throw at them. Thank you so much for joining me over this series. It's been a pleasure to share my garden with you, and I hope it's inspired you to try and grow something new this year. I wish you a summer full of colour and plenty of chance to enjoy the fruits of our labours.